Let's see. Yes, he is. But he's going out on that stage and risking everything.
I can't think of a funnier way to start this than reading off quotes by critics. Here it goes. A near total fiasco. Serious as a poodle in a miniskirt. Light as an anvil. The finale is a little bit on the nose. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is proof of what Raymond Carver once said. It ought to make us feel ashamed when we talk like we know what we're talking about when we talk about Birdman. Hi, I'm Austin Zwiebelman, and with me I have...
Hi, I'm Tanner Richard Kraft.
Tonight we're talking about the 2014 Best Picture winning film from Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. Birdman tells the story of a washed-up superhero actor who is slowly killing himself trying to impress New York theater people. Like Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, Birdman's narrative is presented as what appears to be one long, unbroken take. Upon its release, Birdman would go on to gross $103 million and be nominated for 9 Academy Awards. And I think it's safe to say, if those negative quotes from my intro are your kind of thing, I suggest you switch channels back to the Critical Drinker, because we're mostly here to suck this movie's dick. Before we commence, I've got a question that every film production student is dying to answer. What are our favorite long takes in cinema history? Little caveat, stitched long takes are perfectly acceptable. The movie does not need to be Russian arc. Tanner, take it away.
Well, of course stitched long takes are acceptable. The movie we're talking about today is a stitched together long take. This isn't an easy one. It's kind of impossible to pick just one, but if I had to pick just one, I think I would bring up a shot that I'm pretty sure I've talked about on the show before, which is the oneer from Halloween 2018, where he goes out of the building into a building and does a big murder spree, because that inspired a oneer take in my own film, Diagnosis. I'm pretty sure I've told this story before, so I won't get too into it. But other than that, there are some other obvious contenders. Old Boy, obviously great. The car chase in Children of Men, if memory serves me correctly, is mostly presented to look like one long take.
Oh yeah, absolutely. CGI car roof and all that.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen Children of Men, so I'm not as confident in that one. I think I've seen Hawkeye rip the shot off more recently than I've seen Children of Men. And I said Old Boy, Halloween, Rope, like you said before, like Rope. Rope is one of my favorite Hitchcock movies and perhaps the greatest gay rom-com ever made.
That's wrong. That is just...
It's pretty gay. It's pretty gay. Listen, for 1954 standards, that's some gay ass shit.
There's a lot of innuendo in the building. Yeah.
Unintentional innuendo, to be fair, but still. Fellas, is it gay to murder someone with your best friend?
Only if you're doing it for the experience of what it feels like to murder somebody.
Okay, I get you. Oneers in general, I think, are an incredibly effective, interesting filmic technique that at the same time, I think in recent years, sometimes it's just kind of like, yeah, who gives a shit? There's a long take in Avengers Endgame. Did you know that? The scene where Hawkeye's introduced as Ronin is one long continuous take for the most part.
I thought you were talking about the girls get it done shot where they all fly into frame. That
does feel like it lasts 20 minutes, to be fair, but I'm kidding. I like that shot. I like that shot.
Wow.
I like girls get it done. I'm a male feminist.
No, yeah. He's a card-carrying male feminist. Oh god, yeah. I haven't seen Endgame in a very long time. I think I just saw it the once.
Oh, I can't remember the last time I actually watched Avengers Endgame. I'll probably rewatch it before Doomsday comes out. Robert Downey Jr., Dr. Doom.
You know who's the king of, like, one takes that you don't notice are one takes?
What?
Steven fucking Spielberg.
Oh, he's so good at that shit. There are so many takes in his movie where you're like, oh my god, he hasn't cut yet. But it's just so perfectly edited that your brain just, like, doesn't comprehend it. And that's the sign of, like, a perfect one take. most of the one takes I just mentioned, like Old Boy, the car chase, and Children of Men, and the Halloween one take, you don't realize it's a one take until you see someone afterwards being like, wow, that was crazy cool. Because like when you're engrossed in the movie and if that shot is doing its job correctly, you won't notice.
Yeah. Some one takes I feel are kind of flashy. I think the Copacabana one from like Goodfellas does sometimes draw attention to like, yeah, this is a oneer. But it's kind of like watching somebody balance a bunch of spinning plates. But genuinely, like Spielberg's oneers, somebody had to bring that up in a video essay before I realized that was a trademark of his. I never associated him with anything that flashy.
It's the best way to show off what Spielberg is best at as a director. Blocking.
My God.
Spielberg is like maybe the best blocker in like film history when it comes to like putting his actors in a scene. Mm-hmm. Spielberg is a god at that. And he just intrinsically understands the space so incredibly well.
And that's why West Side Story fucking owns.
Yes. What about you, Austin? How about you name some oneers?
I just want to say, excellent fucking picks, Tanner. Your opinion means like slightly more than the average person by a lot, because you actually had to coordinate one of these. You fucking
took us over 30 takes, but we did it.
Anything else I genuinely, if you want to say some other stuff about the Diagnosis one take.
I don't want to jerk myself off here, but it did take me over 30 takes. It was the first thing we shot, and then near the end of production, I realized I don't like the take we have. Let's do it again.
Oh!
And everyone was on board with it. Everyone was on board with it. And it took so many, because here's the thing. It's not just that we get inside, outside. We start in one room on the inside into another room, leave that room back into the living room, go outside, downstairs. And so the entire time we had to coordinate 3 like camera people to stand behind the DP so we wouldn't fall backwards while climbing down the stairs. Mm-hmm. Pulling focus was a nightmare. We couldn't have audio outside because there wasn't a way to hide the sound people like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a massive technical undertaking, but it worked.
I don't know if lay people get this. When you see a oneer where somebody's walking towards the camera, if the actor starts going downstairs, that means the cameraman had to walk backwards down the stairs while aiming a camera in front of them. It's not easy. Fun. Who was the cinematographer on Diagnosis?
Logan Jordan, who is an excellent DP. He's a very talented man. And processing also had a oneer, though that was much less technically difficult. But that one had the added benefit of you having to do VFX and masking on a oneer shot, Austin, which I'm sure was a nightmare. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, kudos to you as well, Tim M. Sullivan, for shooting that particular oneer. I remember like the fucking ooh that we all did when he got the take. Really excellent stuff so far. I want to say this with a certain level of, these are my picks, a certain level of, okay, imagine like a cereal box, but it's just Crow. Like Captain Crow. Oops, all crows! I haven't eaten this much crow since I was in fucking Boy Scouts. But get this, listen here. Tanner, did you watch Extraction 2?
No, why would I watch Extraction 2? I'm sorry, I've heard the Extraction movies are fun. I might watch them someday.
Yeah, that's right, I'm talking about Extraction 2, the movie with Chris Hemsworth. If you think I'm fucking around, I wish I was fucking around.
Oh, is this the one that has like, it's like over 10 minutes long simulated or something crazy like that?
Listen to this. There is a 21-minute long take in Extraction 2. It took over 4 months to film. It used over 400 extras. It involves multiple helicopters. And get this, a real train. Like a real fucking Thor is fighting helicopters on board a real train. It's fucking bananas. I watched this movie on the treadmill not knowing that this was like the gimmick of the franchise, and my smile just kept getting bigger. It's not my pick, but I genuinely believe it deserves top billing in my mentions, just because I've never seen anything like it.
It's pretty crazy.
My serious answer, though, is Mr. Robot, Season 3, Episode 5.
Oh, I could have mentioned TV shows?
No, by that I mean
Daredevil Season 3. The prison fight sequence is fucking incredible. Sorry, Austin, continue.
True Detective Season 1. Them getting out of the neighborhood. Film pick. film pick is the funeral scene from I Am Cuba. Tanner.
Oh!
You ever seen that old picture of like the Soviets doing structure relocation in Romania? Where they use sheer collectivist commie power to move a 7,600 ton apartment building 55 meters away from where it was like originally built. The funeral shot in I Am Cuba is the filmmaking equivalent of that. The camera is literally being passed hand to hand up a 3-story building. Then it traverses across a roof, through a Cuban cigar processing operation, into a flag, and then it fucking starts flying over a procession of like hundreds of people. It's 100% bananas. Except, like,
and all in camera, correct?
Yeah, all in camera. And not using fancy equipment because it was back in the day. What was it? In a world where people usually bring up like the same wonders for movies that I absolutely adore, like the hallway shot from Old Boy or Sam Mendes' 1917. Remember that one? Or
that movie's awesome.
I rewatched that movie. It holds up really well. Although every time I think of it, my brain goes 2-shot. It's not a 1-shot movie, it's a 2-shot.
I'm afraid to properly rewatch it because I watched that shit in IMAX, man.
Oh, it's gonna be like Dunkirk. It's not gonna hit again if you don't watch it in IMAX. Ah! Oh!
I thought Dunkirk hit at home.
I wish I saw Dunkirk in IMAX. Everyone says such good
I
things.
saw Dunkirk in 70 millimeter. Man, fuck you. I'm better than you. I'm gonna say it. I am better than you.
That's fucking fair. I think that I Am Cuba is too often overlooked. And I think it's the CIA's fault. They just want everybody talking about the intro for Touch of Evil over and over again, stoking the fear of immigrants. But you know what is an even greater feat of collective strength than the nation of Cuba?
What?
This movie! It's shot by 3-time Academy Award winner Emmanuel Lubezki. Birdman is a fucking harrowing feat of logistics. Tanner, you've had 10 years to ruminate on this question, and the curtains are finally coming up on the big moment. What are your overall thoughts on RoboCop 2014?
RoboCop 2014, I think, gets a bit of a bad rap. It's not the worst RoboCop movie. I think the worst RoboCop movie is probably forever RoboCop 3. Have you seen RoboCop 3? It's a gigantic piece of dog shit. RoboCop 2014 has a couple of interesting ideas going for it, but then it falls into a lot of the stupid tropes of its era. Like the whole oh, why did we made RoboCop all black? That makes him look terrifying. Why would you make RoboCop all black? I get that he's supposed to intimidate criminals, but as a cop, he is supposed to be, in theory, friendly to regular civilians. That's a weird decision, but I like the character. The actor's name escapes me right now. I actually like the main guy in RoboCop. I like the fact that they tried to give RoboCop more of his humanity back in the 2014 version. There were some interesting ideas going around. I like Gary Oldman in it. I like Michael Keaton in it. Sam Jackson is funny in every scene he's in. RoboCop 2014 is not a particularly good movie. Obviously, it pales in comparison to the original RoboCop, and probably isn't as good as RoboCop 2. But RoboCop 2014 is a fun enough time. Audience, I want you to know, Austin did not tell me that he was going to ask me my opinion of RoboCop 2014. I just did that shit on the spot.
Did you RDP into my computer at work? Did you steal my notes?
No, I just had that locked and loaded, I guess.
Dude, I love that at a drop of a hat, you're ready to give a full review of RoboCop 2014.
Oh, never know. You never know when you might need that thing.
Hey, speaking of Birdman, what did you fucking think about the movie, dude?
That's okay. Okay.
Movie good!
This is what we've been missing in the Tanner and Austin show. Birdman is a incredibly important movie to me. I'll just say this, in 2014, that was the year I first started really falling in love with going to the theater all the time, seeing movies a bunch. In the years past, I never saw more than 2 or 3 movies in a year. 2014 was sort of the final culmination of what Eric Striffler and pretty much that path had sort of put me on. When I saw the Avengers in 2012, and it made me start falling in love with movies because I found pretty much it, and they helped me expand my horizons with movies. the culmination of that was watching Birdman in November of 2014. I remember I was technically 16 and I was seeing it with my friend Christian. Both of us were 16 at the time. So we technically needed a parent to see the movie with us, but my mom called the theater ahead of time and said, hey, my son Tanner and his friends are going to go, but I give him permission, yada, yada. And that worked. It was at Ronnie's. They used to do this thing where if you gave them a bunch of canned food, they would let you see a movie for free. They don't do it anymore, which is a shame because canned food drives are cool. And I sat there and boy, did my friend Christian fucking hate this thing. But me personally, there's this one scene. It's between Edward Norton characters and Michael Keaton's character. It's actually the introduction to Edward Norton's character. And they have this back and forth about the script, about the craft, about how they should play the scene as actors. And it was in that moment, I already knew I sort of had a talent for it because for some reason I just kind of intrinsically understood something a lot of my classmates didn't. You have to sound emotive when you try to act.
Yeah.
In that moment, I realized for the first time that the thing I want to do, nay, need to do in this life is to be an actor, which would later turn on to I just need to work in movies some way, but it manifested as I need to be an actor. Birdman is the movie that made me eventually audition to join Webster University's acting program. When I didn't get into that, I still went to Webster University, which is how I met you, Austin, and a bunch of other people. Austin actually met me before I ever became a film major. It was just very brief.
Yeah,
so
at an improv show. You were putting on an improv show with the troupe, right?
There's the acting. Yep, it was the improv club stuff. So that's all to say that a movie like that put me on such a big collision course in my life. I fucking adore Birdman. Where do I start? The camera stuff, which is what, our whole opening question is revolving around, is some of the most beautifully impressive camera stuff I have ever seen in a movie. Say what you will about Iñárritu's work and how him as a person, even if you don't really like the general things he writes and directs, you got to admit that the way he uses a camera is really second to none. He knows how to use the camera. He is truly a filmmaker in that regard. Him and his usual DP, this guy, because didn't this guy also shoot The Revenant, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, I think Emmanuel Lubezki shot The Revenant.
Yeah, he is an incredibly talented DP and Iñárritu's usual go-to guy. The way they operate is like a perfect wavelength and the camera work is beautiful. Because here's the thing, it's not just a gimmick. It's not just a gimmick that it's all in one continuous shot. That obviously, as a 16-year-old kid watching this movie for the first time, was a big influence on my love for it, was just how cool that was just on like a technical level. But in terms of what it means for the greater filmmaking prowess of it is, it's fascinating, has a lot to do with like, because you truly never leave like these characters' heads. It really sucks you in, is what I like to say. And it helps, because the key thing about doing a oneer, in my opinion, this is why I implement oneers, is that if you don't cut the film, if you don't make a cut in the edit, you're not cutting the tension. Tension doesn't get cut if you don't cut, which is a big reason why a lot of Birdman works. It has a very funny aspect, but there's always this tension to it, which is important for Regan Thompson's character, the main character of the movie. Is important to kind of suck you in and keep you on that sort of anxious edge that he's at. Because there's a lot of funny, silly stuff in this movie, but there's always that anxiety in the background because the camera does not cut. That is a very crucial aspect to why this movie works. The other crucial aspect is, of course, the wonderful, wonderful performance by the entire cast. Listen, I like Eddie Redmayne fine. I like Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything. It is a goddamn fucking travesty that Michael Keaton did not win the Oscar for Best Actor this year. It's been 10 years. I'm still kind of pissed off about it. What the fuck was that horse shit? Another generic stupid biopic over one of the most inspired performances of the 2010s, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's incredible, but the entire rest of the cast is doing great work. This was my first time seeing Emma Stone outside of like the Spider-Man movies. And is that her in Zombieland? That's her in Zombieland, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it was my first time seeing these characters in that context, or seeing that actor in this context, and I thought she was incredible. Andrea.
Oh, are you talking about the pregnant girlfriend?
Yeah.
The one from the actress from Mandy. I actually don't know her name. Risenborough?
Risenborough? Yeah. She's an Oscar nominee. I should know better. She's great. Who is that? Naomi Watts, right?
Yep.
She's fantastic. Edward Norton playing sort of a satirical version of himself, which even as a 16-year-old kid, I was kind of aware of like Edward Norton's reputation, and how he just kind of sort of played perfectly into that. The single funniest moment of the movie might just be him coming out of the bed with that massive hard on. It's very funny. All the performances though are incredible, especially Michael Keaton, and that is why the movie's funny. It's written well, but the actors are able to walk this tightrope of this very serious thing while also being downright entertaining. This movie's a blast. You see a lot of Best Picture winners and you think, oh, it's some stuffy bullshit. And don't get me wrong, a movie like Spotlight from the next year, a movie I also love. Do not get me wrong, I love Spotlight.
Yeah. It's good.
It's a great movie. Spotlight's a great movie. It kind of falls more into the typical quote unquote stuffiness of the average Best Picture winner, not Birdman. Birdman's a mile a minute fun. It has a lot to say, but it's also a lot of fun. A lot of that has to do with the camera cut, but it's the performances, it's the character interactions. It feels like a blockbuster at times, with like the most unblockbuster like score, which is this beautiful largely percussionist based score from a guy that Austin tells me is called the Octopus.
Yeah, that's a nickname. I have his name written somewhere else in my notes. But yeah, Iñárritu met him at a concert 10 years before the movie, and he just went nuts on the drums and called him up and was like, hey, listen, I want just solo drums jazz score. Like he's a distinctly good jazz drummer. Yeah,
he's incredible, and the score for the film is incredible. Overall, it's an incredible movie. It's a blast movie. I didn't know this made over $100 million worldwide, but it makes sense again because it's a very fun movie. It was a deserving Best Picture winner. It was a deserving Best Director Screenplay or Best Director winner. I don't know what other Oscars it won, but it probably deserved them too. And it's still a goddamn travesty that Michael Keaton didn't win. I'll get more into this in my general discussion. But overall, this is a very important movie to me personally that I love on such a deep level. And I'm so glad we're able to discuss it, you and I, today, Austin, because I think out of the whole Bomb Squad, you and I are probably the only real shooters for this one, which is crazy to say about a movie that fucking won Best Picture.
People always tell me this movie is divisive for reasons. Like my spouse was like, yeah, it's weird, but I liked it. And I just don't see that. I like when I see this, it appeals to me so much, I project the idea of universal acclaim onto it. There's a certain amount where I overestimate its appeal potentially, but I genuinely am like blind to the idea this movie could seriously put people off, you know?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Excellent thoughts as always, my man.
Sorry. I wanted to highlight him. Zach Galifianakis is incredible. We need to give him more serious work.
Yeah, it's amazing when a director can like pluck some person who has given mostly just kind of milquetoast performances up to that point. He's like, yeah, I'm taking this guy from The Hangover and I'm gonna make him like a scene stealer. I'm gonna make him a guy who demands attention. It's fucking amazing when a director has that power.
Yeah, I forgot to mention him in terms of all my acting shout outs. I wanted to make sure I named him.
You know, I was thinking about this. There's sort of a funny meta element here, right?
Okay.
Because this movie made you want to act, right?
Yes.
This movie is about a director who goes around with a cocktail napkin that he got from this famous author that showed up to a play he was in and like sent it backstage with a compliment in it, you know, and Rickon Thompson says, because of this napkin with a compliment from a famous author, this is what made me want to become an actor. And this movie is your cocktail napkin in a way.
100% yes.
Really tremendous stuff. Okay, so to have a go at this and hopefully not fuck it up, did you know that Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu began his career as a radio host? That's another thing.
Hearing that makes a lot of sense given this movie for some reason. That feels right.
That is another thing that you and him have in common. You came from radio. Jump cuts.
Yeah, I did do college radio. That's fair.
He interviewed people like Carlos Santana and Elton John when he worked on the radio, like famous celebrities. It was a huge like radio channel down in Mexico. And he once said in an interview that he actually believes music had like a bigger influence on him as a person than like film did. And I think that's always significant. Watching movies made by directors whose first love is not just film. Because we all like Spielberg and Scorsese, but there's like a certain personality that musical people like John Carpenter or like Julie Taymor, Iñárritu bring to their features that is kind of unexpected, you know? I wager the most kind of like digestible macro level way to like conceptualize the music angle in this is there's certain things about film that you can describe, right? You can explain to a guy on the elevator why Arnold Schwarzenegger blowing up a tanker full of gasoline is cool, right? But can you explain Beethoven? You can't explain music as easily. Music kind of just has to be experienced, right? You go tell that guy on the elevator that, like, this is a movie about a former superhero actor trying to put on a Broadway play. Just like you could tell the guy, like, Charles Mingus sounds like a house party that gets run into by a train. But until they actually, like, sit down and engage with the art, they don't have a fucking shot of visualizing its full impact. You can't explain Beethoven, and I don't think you can explain Birdman. It has to be experience. And I would say, if, like, music is the key that unlocks the front door of the house, the metaphorical, like, TV remote is this movie's commentary on theater. I am a former theater kid. I was the lead actor in a few high school plays. And this movie makes every cheap shot it takes at theater look like $1 million fucking bucks. The ever-present sexual deviance, the crazy method actor, and the holy grail of subpar theater, which is ending the play on your main actor committing suicide. There is a part of me that wants to know if this movie is better if you're a current theater kid or a former theater kid. But, like, all the same, I think the way that this movie takes shots at the, like, slightly higher art of Broadway plays manages to be surprising, even while resorting to stereotypes, because it's got a playful vulgarity that coincidentally really reminds me of people I used to do theater with. And I know this movie happily shits on comic book tentpole like blockbusters, but I gotta say, the actors in this film had to have fucking superpowers or something to give these performances. Fuck CGI suits. These people have more focus in their pinky fingers than normal people have in their whole bodies. The way that the actors toe the line between, like, their totally private selves and these characters in a show who are being subconsciously influenced by these backstage events, it is fucking magnificent. I cannot imagine how hard it is to do, like, the same performance from a play, like, 3 times, and somehow, like, fluctuate between great and really good and fucking mind-blowing, all while being really subtle about the changes. This is like Synecdoche, New York, if it did coke and partied. Iñárritu said on the bonus features that he made this film to explore his own ego. And to him, the ego is this force that makes you do things that might not actually make you happy in the end. This is a film about what happens once you've got everything you thought you wanted, like fame, friends, money, all that shit, and then, like, 20 years go by, and now there's, like, this part of you that's always looking to the past. You want your career to still mean something, and you want that napkin that you got from that drunk author to still mean something. And all the fancy tricks that you've got in your head can't seem to fix the mistakes you've made. And in your like, less than noble quest to steal the spotlight back, you only make it more obvious that the Emperor has lost his suit a long time ago. And then, right when they're about to completely destroy you, you look them in the eyes, you say, I actually meant to do that. And then you pawn every year you had left on a 3-minute standing ovation. It's fucking glamorous, dude. This movie's got queen to play. This movie has dick. It takes big swings, technically. The writing is crass. Basically, the whole score is just one Mexican dude going ape shit on the drums. Birdman is fucking hysterical and really deeply human. It aims high and it shoots low. It feels like a movie from the fucking future. And this must have been what it feels like when like Citizen Kane or 2001: A Space Odyssey comes out. Even after a decade, most of its commentary holds up like a rock-solid fortress. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Even if it does feel a little bit weird ever since Michael Keaton put the bat suit on again for Warner Brothers. I can't believe he actually did Birdman 4.
He didn't, though. The Flash is fake. You can't prove that movie exists.
Yeah, putting it in my kind of place where I put Highlander 2. My mental place where we put the Star Wars prequels.
Hey! Revenge of the Sith is fun.
You know whose triumphant return won't be kind of shitty? The Austin and Tanner Show, when we get back from this ad about Edward Norton Boner Pills. See ya!
You save people from their boring, miserable lives. You make them jump, laugh, shit their pants. All you have to do is...
Welcome back from ads! Unless you have YouTube Premium, in which case, you've fallen into my trap. The ads are now coming from inside the house! MoviePalette.com. If you go drop a C note on this exquisitely vibrant bit of color on canvas, you will get a piece of art where each thin vertical line represents all the moments in your favorite motion pictures. It's a fine fucking piece of wall art that is much classier than your Pulp Fiction poster. MoviePalette.com. You're already one step closer to getting laid. Now, back to the show.
Use the code SQUAD15 to save 15% on your order.
It's time to take a page from this movie's solo drum kit jazz music and shed the shackles of structure for a while. This is general discussion about the generous percussion. Tanner, after 10 years of loving this movie, you got any, loose thoughts in your pockets that you want to clatter down onto the metaphorical gas station counter right now?
When I watched this movie on Monday for the first time in a hot minute, it finally dawned on me, oh, Michael Keaton is doing the Birdman voice. For 10 years, I thought it was a voice actor, and just this time I went, no, you fucking idiot, that's Michael Keaton!
Yeah, I couldn't tell on my recent watch through. I was like, maybe they hired a guy, because it's just so sexual.
Yeah, but there's that distinctive growl that Keaton has, that, the juice is loose. I just saw Beetlejuice. Let's talk about Beetlejuice. No more Birdman. We're going to talk about Beetlejuice.
Oh, it's weird. I like the movie a lot. I don't know if I have much to say about it. I'm in a weird spot with that movie.
Birdman or Beetlejuice? Okay.
I was visually enchanted, but it does not make me excited to talk about it for some reason.
It's crazy how much the movie revolves around the pedophile's character. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay, are you ready to play our game? I gave you a little bit of
Oh shit, yeah, the fucking what best picture winner is better than Birdman? Yeah. You start.
All right, I just I made my list. 5 best picture winners that look like fucking trash compared to Birdman, and I'm wondering how many picks we'll have in common. Okay. Number 1, The Artist. Number 2, sorry Tanner, Coda. Number 3, The King's Speech.
Okay.
Number 4, Green Book. It's a gimme. And number 5, Argo. How many do we have in common?
Well, the first one that I reached in mind was Green Book. I forgot you said looks like shit. Yeah, I just thought it was is shit compared to Birdman.
No. Is shit compared to Birdman was the intention. I probably just said something wrong.
Okay. Green Book looks like shit. Is shit compared is not that good to begin with. Looks embarrassing compared to Birdman. This one might be a bit of a controversial pick. I even like this movie. But Best Picture winner is kind of crazy, especially if compared to a Best Picture winner like Birdman. Chariots of Fire.
Yep. That was tempting.
It's not bad. It's not bad. But like, it's such a whatever movie.
I hear the best part of it is the score.
It is. I mean, there's that bum 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 running music thing.
Yeah.
I tried my best to find a 70s movie best picture winner to put on this list, but every best picture winner in the 70s is kind of fucking incredible. Let me put it this way, dude. The worst movie on this list is either Annie Hall or The Sting.
Oh, Jesus. This is impossible.
That is arguably the worst movie. Those are the two worst 70s best picture winners. Maybe Patton or The French Connection, but I mean, those movies are fucking incredible if you ask me.
Yeah. Oh, God, the 4K of Patton just came out. I gotta rewatch Patton.
Richard Nixon's favorite movie, which says a lot about him, I think. If you want to go into the 60s, then I had to reach the point of, well, I can't say Tom Jones. I haven't seen it. That wouldn't be fair. I have seen Oliver, which is like, so whatever. It's fine.
I like the idea of dunking on orphans to prop up Birdman. I like that.
Yeah. Going to the 1940s. We're going way back for this one. But How Green Was My Valley?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Haven't seen it. What's it like?
It's pretty green. It's the movie that beat Citizen Kane. So,
okay.
And arguably my least favorite best picture winner that I have seen. The one that is even more than Green Book, I think, downright offensive. I'm shocked you didn't say this. Crash.
It's because I haven't seen Crash. Every time I go
good. Keep it that way.
To sit down and watch Crash, I invent new reasons to not want to watch Crash.
It's not good. It's very not good. Side note, while we're on the best picture thing, because I don't know if I'm ever going to get another chance to talk about this, I made a crucial discovery when I was looking at the Wikipedia list, and because they show not just the winners, but the nominees. I sent Austin this showing 1975 might be the greatest best picture lineup of all time.
Rattle them off.
The winner for that year was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, an incredible all-time movie. Here were the other movies nominated. Jaws, the movie that created blockbusters. Nashville, arguably Robert Altman's best movie. Dog Day Afternoon, one of the most crucially influential movies like ever made. And Barry fucking Lyndon, in my opinion, Stanley Kubrick's best movie.
Imagine my shock when I put off Barry Lyndon for most of my adult life, and then I watch it, and it's better than everything else he made. Like, barring maybe 2001. That movie is shockingly good, but you do have to be an adult to get it. Like, grow up
100%.
before you try watching Barry Lyndon. It's not
you
like
can't
Full
watch
Metal
it as
Jacket.
a kid.
You're not
the best thing that Barry Lyndon ever created was that fan cam edit where shots from Barry Lyndon are set over that 21 Savage song a lot. It's like one of the greatest things ever, Austin. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure I've shown you it.
Yeah. Let's rewatch it after the show. I need
100%.
a refresh.
It's good.
There's one thing that I really adore in this movie. In rare cases, this gets brought up. Things that kind of parallel like terminal lucidity. To sound sort of like this director's earlier movie, 21 Grams, for a second, let me explain to the audience what terminal lucidity is, in case like any of you have grandparents out there that are on the younger side. It has been observed a whole lot that people who have been like slowly dying suddenly perk up right before the big day. If you've got a loved one who's on hospice and out of nowhere they're like, right as rain, there is a decent chance you have got less than 48 hours.
Yeah, that means get ready.
Not around anymore. One really excellent artistic representation of this is Place in the World Fades Away, the final track from Everywhere at the End of Time, a song I've never been able to finish without crying. But in Birdman, there's nothing that sweet. Regan Thompson experiences something similar to terminal lucidity near the end of the film, because he's made up his mind that he's gonna attempt suicide. I wasn't able to find an actual clinical term for when a suicidal person experiences terminal lucidity. My spouse suggested delusional positivity. Getting to act that out, that eerie sense of calm right before trying to blow your brains out on stage. That might be one of the coolest things you could tee up an actor to do. Especially like contrasting with the manic, kind of insane character he plays before that point in the movie. I'm gonna add this to my list of future things I want to write into screenplays, just for the sake of letting an actor get to do that. I'll put it like above smoking cigarettes, but below getting stuck in a time loop. And one last thing, that is a funny fucking maneuver. Theater critic is like getting ready to annihilate you, so you attempt suicide in front of everybody, and now she can't give you a bad review without being criticized herself and called a piece of shit. Masterful gambit, sir.
Yeah, which honestly I think actually brings up an interesting question.
What?
Because here's something cool. The entire movie is played out as one long unending take, right? Except for one key moment. Right after he shoots himself, it's a flurry of cuts.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the uninterrupted take thing, which brings up a question in my mind. Is what Regan Thompson's seeing in the last 10 minutes of the movie or so real? I understand that a lot of film people think the whole "it was a vision before his death" thing is stupid, but I do think that is legitimately a question the movie is putting forth.
I really lean on the whole, like, I think it's symbolic. I know that a lot of people's interpretation of the comet is it's Icarus burning up because he pulled a fucking Icarus. The dead jellyfish, according to Iñárritu on the commentary track, he may have been being a little shit, but it's really literal when he talks about it. It's like, some moments I feel like a comet, some moments I feel like a dead jellyfish. So there might not, in his mind, be more to the dead jellyfish, but what's really interesting is that they got Spider-Man. They got fucking Spider-Man in that sequence.
Yeah, I was watching that and that showed up, and this is before this became a Disney movie.
It could represent his manifested fear, because he never got over the whole, like, they're right. I am a Hollywood pervert committing a cultural genocide, invading their sacred space. And that would be, you know, like fucking Spider-Man dancing on the Broadway stage where he's trying to put on the play. That would be my interpretation of it. What's yours?
Well, my interpretation of it has a lot to do with my interpretation of the movie as a whole, which I think the more interesting interpretation of this movie is a very literalist interpretation of the movie. I think Regan Thompson can fly and control things with his mind.
Excellent!
Only because I think that is the most interesting thing.
Yep.
I think the fact that he plays a superhero on movies, when he of himself actually has extraordinary abilities, adds a layer to it, I think. It adds a layer of, well, then why the costume? Why all the silliness? Why not just show the world you can fly and earn the love and admiration you want that way? It adds a layer to it that I find interesting. Now, I know there's a very valid, like, no, I don't think he can fly thing. The movie, I think, leaves it kind of ambiguous. The only, like, real definitive there's proof he can't fly thing is that the taxi guy tries to get the money. But again, that could mean anything. That's how I feel. How do you feel? Like, do you feel this literalist thing, or is it very metaphorical for you?
No, I love that, because ever since I saw this 10 years ago, my mind was doing this thing where it's like, be serious. You know, he's tricking you. Superpowers aren't real. There never was a part of me that was like, the art would be more interesting if he did have superpowers. I should have thought of that! That is a great way to look at it!
Yeah, that's always been my view on the thing, is that I think it's more interesting that he has powers and yet he only uses them privately. He doesn't, like, use them for it. It adds layers, I think. It adds layers to the character.
As a work of fiction, because this is all fake. It's a movie.
Of course,
why not?
yeah.
Why, like, you can fucking believe all this random shit, getting into fistfights with his lead actor Boner on stage, but he can't, like, have superpowers? But fucking, that rocks! I would like to just reanalyze what all the shit in the movie means if he's just, like, privately a superhero, like Hancock with discretion. That is cool!
Yeah. I don't know how popular of an interpretation that is, but that's always been my read on it.
It feels like a thing that would get us, like, glass bottles thrown at us if we said it, like, with a microphone in front of a screening of this film.
Yeah, we're presenting this at the Alamo, and I'm like, I think he actually has powers, and someone immediate Coke bottle at my head.
Yeah,
immediately.
You know the musicians in the Patrick Swayze movie Roadhouse? That they fucking, they're just glass bottles nonstop.
Yeah, okay, yeah. They're just mad at me. But I think it's a valid and interesting interpretation of the film. Film is meant to be interpreted like any piece of art, and I think I think by giving in your Michael Keaton, Riggins Thompson at least the pastiche of powers is supposed to add a layer there, and I think it's even more interesting if it's actually him, especially because otherwise I can't reckon the last shot in my mind if he doesn't have powers.
Yeah, I never knew what to make of the ending. That was the thing. I guess this is like a psychological thing for me, but I was never comfortable like fully parsing that out. Like my brain knows exactly what to think about the ending of 2001. Guy dies and becomes God. I've got it down to a sentence.
Happens to the best of us.
I never, ever felt comfy, like, being sure about what this was. But I did read a funny Reddit comment. Emma Stone makes that face because she finally knows the Malibu beach house is going to be hers.
She's thanking God. I don't have to worry about the beach house. Thank God.
Sorry, do you have like a concrete-ish interpretation of the ending? Did you ever feel comfortable taking that leap,
well,
so to speak?
If I have a literalist interpretation of the powers thing, which I do, which is that Michael Keaton's character actually has powers, that's Emma Stone. I almost said Emma Thompson, very different movie. That's Emma Stone legitimately reacting to seeing her father fly.
Got it.
But that also does serve as a metaphor, specifically because it's not an Instagram account she makes for him. It's not a Facebook account she makes for him. It's a Twitter account she makes for him. What's Twitter's logo? A giant
bird!
X.
Fuck off!
No, a bird. And his following is flying up. He's literally flying, and he's also metaphorically flying, both with cultural cash and actual popularity. It's I kind of got everything I wanted, but I still think there's a tinge of bittersweetness to it because is that actually what Riggins Thompson truly wanted? I think he just wanted to be at least a little respected, but more than anything, he wanted to make that play.
Yeah. And what is it? It does add like the kind of analysis you don't get to do unless you take the ending that way, is wondering why he felt comfortable flying in front of other people, flying in front of people he cared about until that moment.
Which could be a way of saying it's after the suicide attempt, it's like finally he's able to let go of his baggage. There is the outright rejection of the Birdman persona in the bathroom.
Yeah, sitting on a toilet, defeated, vulgar as he ever was.
It's an outright rejection of that persona. That's always, again, that's if you have a literalist interpretation of the powers thing, which it is equally valid to think that is a metaphor for something.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's most people's default state, because of what this movie says about like superheroes and stuff. I want to talk about the CGI in this movie. As someone with kind of a VFX background, fucking get this. Lots of people talk about CGI these days like they have any idea what the fuck they're talking about when they talk about CGI.
They don't. They don't know what they're talking about when we talk about CGI.
There's this really stellar YouTube series from a channel called The Movie Rabbit Hole, and it's titled No CGI is Really Just Invisible CGI. I think he's released 4 of them. They're fucking amazing. It highlights this concept perfectly. Birdman has a fuckload of CGI in it.
You have to hide the cuts.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not just talking about that scene near the end where shit starts blowing up, duh. Every time you see a mirror in this film, which is fairly frequent because of the way that, backstage
dressing rooms work.
Yeah. Everything behind the actors is CGI in all of those shots. The company who did this is called Rodeo Effects. They're based out of Montreal. That's the same company that did Edge of Tomorrow, both of the Dune movies, RRR. They contributed. They had to, I shit you not, roto the actors in the mirrors so they're an isolated element, then cup in CGI reconstructions of the background scenery behind them, everything that's not an actor. Because, the whole crew was visible in the raw footage, right? Anyway, did you have any idea that was happening? I didn't even know that was happening.
Well, I assumed it had to be because, If you ever tried to take a picture of a mirror without the camera being in it, it's possible, but it is difficult. And some of the angles they're operating at in this movie, which are sometimes almost dead on, it would be actually impossible to capture that without the camera being in the shot.
One kind of CGI mirror thing that makes my head hurt is that one scene where John Wick is in the big mirror house. Just the idea of rendering that makes me want to take a long walk off a short pier. Another like kind of CGI thing. You know that scene that you were talking about earlier, where Michael Keaton and Ed Norton are rehearsing the play for the first time on the stage?
Oh, I am not aware of any type of digital effect in that one. Please tell.
They're from different takes. The two actors are from different takes, and the background behind them is CGI. There are certain points where Iñárritu wanted different performances from different shots, so they remade the whole environment in CGI and just, like comp their shit in there. Isn't that fucking
That's incredible
insane?
because I would not have noticed that. That's crazy. The specific scene that made me want to be an actor, which was the energy of them feeding off of each other, was them feeding off of each other in different takes. That's kind of funny.
This is our version. I'm Edward Norton, you're Michael Keaton, and I'm telling you, he was fucking drunk, man. Like, this is...
Yeah, that's why you brought up the cocktail napkin thing. You had a plan! You had a plan!
Everyone's falling into my traps these days. No, seriously, for $18 million in 2014, I think Rodeo did a flawless job on this. Maybe when they release a 4K, it'll be even remotely visible. There's still no 4K of this. But watching this in
bullshit.
Like a perfect...
It's unfair.
In a perfect 1080 cut from the Blu-ray, I was not able to tell anything except for the objects he flings around and that shit in the Birdman scene were CGI at all.
Well, yeah, but the stuff in the Birdman scene is obviously, I think, supposed to look a little CGI.
Of course.
And the stuff he's flowing around, I mean, you see him for what, 5 seconds at most?
Yeah. And I thought in 2014, the CG in the Birdman scene, the exaggerated CGI looked amazing for the day.
It does, and again, you don't see it that long. And that whole sequence is great. I especially love it when it basically gets close to Michael Keaton and he goes, ah! So good. How does he do it, folks?
What is it? This movie's got kind of like a poetic bent. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah, it's very poetry. It's very poetry.
Do you have any moments in this where you're just like, oh, he did it, poetry? The screenwriter really pulled a rabbit out of a hat in that one.
I mean, obviously the acting scene between the two of them. I often think back of Zach Galifianakis seeing his best friend clearly have a mental breakdown. Go, Marty Scorsese is going to be in the audience tonight. I don't know why that's so perfect, especially because on this viewing I noticed, I swear to God, there's a guy that looks like Marty in the audience. I think they put a lookalike in the audience. I swear to God.
Marty Scorsese. Fucking Christ. And I'm the one holding this together. One of the kind of more vulgar and populist kind of poetic moments in this is when him and Ed Norton are in the bar, and Ed Norton is like, dude, you're a nobody. You're a washed up actor who came here. And then the family walks by and they're like, hey, it's Birdman. Get a picture with us. That's one of those that your dad is like, ha, 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 when he sees it.
It's a very oh, that's how you do it, folks. And it's perfect filmmaking. It's perfect screenwriting. Mm-hmm. It kind of both disproves and proves Edward Norton's point.
Because
it does both.
The people who are showing up for him are just random Karen types, just suburbanites. It's not like he gets recognized by somebody at the fucking Guggenheim. It's just somebody passing through the bar, some random fucking lady
with a child, by the way. Which actually reminds me of the funniest bit, which is when he's walking around in his underwear and a dozen people are like, hey man, can you take a photo? Can you not tell he's busy? Or if not busy, outright having a mental breakdown, and you're like, hey man, photo?
But what about when Edward Norton has the piece of chicken and says, that's some nice bird, man. Fucking...
That's a good bit. That's an incredible bit. I love Edward Norton immediately just being like, this is all bullshit!
You swapped my gin? Just completely tanks the first rehearsal. Fucking,
It's great.
The Raymond Carver napkin that inspired Reagan to become an actor ends up under a cocktail. I like this moment. Under a cocktail, where it probably began its journey in the first place, Reagan leaves it under this drink that he ordered for the critic who wants to kill his show. While it's physical placement is fitting, it's such a sad ending for the napkin. throughout the
Considering
movie,
how much importance he put on it.
Reagan just wanted somebody to care about the napkin, and the journalists, his actors, the critic, people just kept bulldozing over that detail that was really important to him. This does make for an earlier moment of really solid, like, intellectual commentary. Edward Norton's character clearly cares about Raymond Carver as an artist. And there's that scene where he's wondering, like, how the fuck did the guy who used to play Birdman learn about the short story author who wrote fucking Cathedral? But then it turns out Reagan's dedication to Raymond Carver has nothing to do with the guy's short stories or poems. It's just
that he was just some drunk asshole being like, hey man, you got the sauce.
Dude, it's a reflection of his ego. Again, Raymond Carver happened to get drunk at a play he was acting in and gave him a napkin with a compliment. Everywhere you look, it's just this dude's ego. Another moment I noticed, I have slightly less to say about this, the potentially homeless man screaming about oblivion outside the liquor store.
Oh, and then he does the whole, was that too much?
Yes! As the scene unfolds, your mind assumes he's like one of New York City's many schizophrenic homeless poets. Like a Nathaniel Ayers, Jamie Foxx and the Soloist type.
James the Nerd as well.
But then the guy reveals that, like, his nihilistic screaming might have been some kind of, like, weird audition he was doing. This works.
Or is it just, if you want to take a non-literal interpretation of Reagan's powers, is that just his mind crumbling more?
Mm-hmm. It works on this really obvious level, because he says the same exact line as that one shitty actor who Reagan crippled with the stage light earlier. He says, I just wanted to give you a range. They both say the same line. But also, this is a moment where Reagan has been told by the critic that, like, he does not belong in New York. And on his walk to the liquor store, the screaming hobo gives him a really obvious point of reference for what he might look like to the critic. His disgust, her disgust, might seem like really outrageous to us, the viewer, because we know Reagan and we've been watching him put on the play. But that homeless guy puts things in perspective. It shows that we too can think so little of a guy who's essentially doing the same thing in the same city.
I just wanted to give you a range, man. I love that shitty actor because he's like impressively bad.
Oh, the one in the beginning?
Yeah, he's like especially like, and listen, it takes skill to act bad on purpose good.
Because people like who don't act in plays and shit have to recognize you're being shitty, but you can't make it too trite. It is the tightrope you have to walk. The more lines he said, I felt my eye like twitching. I was like, oh my fucking god.
Especially once compared to Ed Norton, it's like, yes, the type of love I'm talking about, and it's like immediately like, oh, that last guy was that bad.
God damn, I cannot imagine how hard it is to have to just, like, when you're randomly saying lines for the movie, put all the emotion into it and make it sound like something you're naturally saying. These people are fucking crazy. How'd they do this?
Mental illness. They're all schizophrenic poets on the New York subway.
All right.
Put that on a t-shirt. They're all schizophrenic poets on the New York subway.
Anything else you want to bring up, my man?
It's really funny, Edward Norton's whole boner thing, even though that is in the midst of him attempting. Let's make sure this is clear. That was attempted sexual assault.
Oh yeah, she wasn't into it. Yeah.
The movie kind of glazes over how deeply fucked up that is. A little
bit.
fucked up.
Yeah.
It's definitely at least a lot fucked up. It's not good. It's not good. The movie knows that it's not good. It just doesn't put that much emphasis on the moment.
Afterwards,
just remembered,
there's a big fallout afterwards. He is not praised for this.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I just want to talk about a couple of the funny moments. One, Regan Thompson attempting to smoke weed and like basically almost swallowing the joint twice.
Yes!
That's a good bit.
He fucking burns himself on the roach. Ooh.
And then he does it again!
That's why we all hate roaches, don't we, folks? That's why you get the little fucking holder thingies.
That's why we hate roaches, don't we, folks? That's why we hate it, folks. Hannibal Lecter, the late great Regan Thompson. He just wanted to do a play in New York, but the critics, they didn't like that, did they, folks? We don't like the critics, folks. And then Regan Thompson, he brought a gun to the stage. He tried to kill himself. That's why we don't like the critics, folks. The Democratic Party are critics of me. They tried to kill me.
What the fuck is happening?
We're Trump posting, baby.
Jesus Christ. It felt like you were gonna say another thing after the weed. I'm so happy you brought up the weed. Seeing him try to
I
calm
thought
down,
I was, and then I forgot what it was.
seeing him try to calm down that particular way, after everything that's happened, it just makes me so fucking happy inside.
Emma Stone's character going, "You don't even have a Facebook page," is funny now because like just 3 years later, I feel like Facebook was kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, 3 years later, he would have been the only one with a Facebook page.
Yeah, it would have finally caught up to the boomer generation, which is it's just really funny to me. Oh god, there was something else funny. Zach Galifianakis, when he leaves the dressing room after Michael Keaton's breakdown, and you can see the two ladies are like listening in on this shit. And it's like, is that true about Martin Scorsese? And he's like, yeah, and I'm gonna be a billionaire tomorrow or some shit. Galifianakis, so good in this. So good.
Yeah, it's a shame that all we have is like this movie and Between Two Ferns as far as him acting goes.
The Hangover, he's funny in those.
He's funny in those, but like acting, you know, like
we do have
acting.
the whole Two Ferns show and the Two Ferns movie. Did you watch the Two Ferns movie?
I did, and I've forgotten every second of it. Was it good?
It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's like the show.
I feel
just less Obama.
It's in like the same folder as Dolomite Is My Name with Eddie Murphy. I saw it, I liked it, I can't remember anything about it.
What do those two movies have in common, people? They are both Netflix distributions.
This is the great problem with their model.
Non-theatrical releases, not good for the industry.
All right, and that's about all the time we have for general discussion. Let's stick a fork in this and call it done. We're finishing up with our final thoughts. Tanner, did you get what you wanted from this film, even so?
I did, and even more. This movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is one of the most influential movies on me as a person in my life. This movie deserved to win Best Picture. Fuck you if you think otherwise. It's an incredible film. The performances are great. The score is great. Everything's great. I can't wait for Alejandro G next movie with Tom Cruise, where I'm sure that because of Iñárritu's tendency to push the boundaries of filmmaking, he will finally find a way to give Tom Cruise what he wants. Death. Back to you, Austin.
I shouldn't have vaped. I wasn't ready to get hit with that!
You gotta be ready at all times, Austin.
Dude, can you imagine Bardo 2 starring Tom Cruise? Finally, dude.
I mean, it's happening. Iñárritu's next movie is gonna star Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Brilliant. I'll tell you what's beloved on this earth. This fucking movie. Okay, my final thoughts. Birdman is about so many good things. Popular art versus prestigious art. Actors putting on performances that are like 3 layers deep. Making a movie feel like something that you lived through instead of just observe. Of all the Best Picture winners from the 2010s, I can confidently say this is my favorite. Even more than Moonlight, Shape of Water, even more than Parasite. Go check this out. You will be surprised how well this thing holds up. But
wait. You mean more? You like this movie more than The King's Speech?
Fuckity fuck. Fuck.
I don't think that's a line in that movie, but it might be.
You saw the PG version, my man. I hate to break this to you.
That is so funny. There was a Best Picture winner that had 2 competing cuts, and the only difference was whether or not he was allowed to say fuck. It's so funny.
But you know who doesn't smell like balls? You! The viewers and or listeners of this movie review show. Thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and leave us a review. Unless you're Lindsay Duncan's character in this film, in which case you can go fuck yourself. Consider donating to our Patreon. For $5 a month, you can unlock our commentary tracks.
We have 2!
We've done episodes.
And more to come.
On Space Jam, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, real rad shit. And if you contribute $10, you get an immortal shout out at the end of our shows. Shout out to Jason Secord. You are a fucking scholar and a gentleman. And also, shout out to Tanya Kraft.
My mother!
For making sure Tanner can continue being a materialist. If you're watching this on YouTube, maybe mosey on down to the comments section. Let us know, what did you think of Birdman? How does Birdman stack up against Best Picture winners in your opinion? And finally, what is the unexpected virtue of ignorance? Comment below, let us know. And while you're down there, hit the like button so we know how much you hate us. Click the subscribe button so we know how much you loathe us. And hit the bell icon to send us straight to hell. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you gotta work with your mistakes until they look intended. Goodbye.
Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
I slid my ticket across the table and I said, sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl.